The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands. When they come, take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when he signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain rats, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up and fight for my freedoms and rights. That's a price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like the fight that you're your champ for.
Is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
You hear me all right?
Yeah.
Hard to believe with all this technology, but you're actually on the air.
That's hard to believe, too. Welcome back to Armed Alabama. Now, folks, the days that have gone by that when you hear a break-in, you grab your gun, your rifle, your deer rifle, and you charge out into the dark to confront the burglar. Because, number one, they have the jump on you. You have just gotten up from a long winter's nap, so to speak, and you don't know who it is. They may have been watching your house for days or weeks, and I would urge you to go to Facebook while we're kind of waiting for the Windows update to happen. And okay, we're on Facebook Live. The next break, we've got a video posted on Facebook that is a home invasion that took place in New Jersey a couple of years ago. I say it's disturbing and violent. Unfortunately, it's no more disturbing and violent as things you see on television, but it is violent. And things happen that fast, but they probably know you, but you don't know them. It may be 3 or 4 people, and you're charging out into something that you don't know anything about. The idea is you want to set up concentric circles for defense around your home. Now, what does that mean? The first circle is your yard. First, you want to keep it halfway cleaned up so it doesn't look like mine that's been abandoned for 5 years. You know, try to keep it trimmed and the leaves off the ground. But then you want to think about putting up maybe motion detector lights, so when somebody drives up in the driveway, the lights will cut on, and perhaps doing the same thing on your sidewalk. Put up a sign, if fake or real, protected by so-and-so security. So what you're doing, the first perimeter's out in your yard. That lets some criminals know, hey, maybe I shouldn't go there, because a lot of criminals they're just going to move along. The next concentric circle is when they get up on your porch or next to your door. Criminals don't listen to this station, so we'll go ahead and give away a few secrets. Something as simple as a large dog food bowl with a little dog food in it. You know, hey, they've got a big dog here. Or men's oversized flip-flops or old shoes. Hey, if you're a female living alone, that may help you out. And then after that, you want to keep all the windows, the bushes around the windows, trimmed down so you can see the windows. And it wouldn't hurt to put bushes like holly there, that's what I have, that will poke you, stick you, if you get in them and try to get in the windows. You know, a determined assassin isn't going to be bothered by that. Most people are not determined assassins. But of course, the first thing you want to do is lock the door. That's on all entry doors. You want to keep them locked. All windows obviously need to be locked. And in addition to locks, it's not a bad idea if you have the sash windows that go up and down to either cut a 2x2 that fit the exact size and put it in there. If you want to do it nicely, paint it the same color that the window is, because sometimes people can jimmy open the lock with a thin paint scraper, stick it in there and get that open, but you're just making it hard. You know, a cynic is going to say a determined burglar can always get in. That's true. You want to be alerted that somebody's there, and you just want to slow them down at every defense circle that you have. And this will do it. If you got any of those locks that are broken, for goodness sake, replace them. If you really want to go the extra mile, you can there's some fairly inexpensive film. It doesn't make your glass bulletproof, it doesn't make it break-proof, but it makes it harder to get through that glass. It makes it where instead of you getting through with an easy blow of a hammer, it might take 2 blows of a hammer to break through the glass. Then you want to make sure you have a sturdy door. Most doors are put up where they swing in. One swinging out, it's going to take a lot more force to get in that door. Now, Miss Manners would not approve of that, because you're supposed to have one swinging in to greet all your relatives and friends. But one swinging out, it takes a lot more force to get in. Most doors are attached to the frame with 1.5-inch screws, and they're attached by 3 hinges. You want to have 3.5-inch screws, wood screws, into that frame. Now, the problem is, do you have a good frame? Many houses have what we call side lights, that the glass around the door, around the frame of the door, or around half of the frame of the door, that provides so little protection because your door isn't actually attached to anything substantial. It's attached to a thin strip of wood. You've got the glass, and then you've got the foundation, or you've got the house, the wall of the house. Consider removing that and putting in just solid there. Because number one, you don't want anybody who comes up to see your young daughter coming to the door, because normally a good kick or two and that door comes down. I'll put up before the night's over a person going through with a machete, a hollow core door. Happened in New Jersey a few years ago. That's truly frightening. But it's nobody's business who's inside the house. That's why you want to consider getting a camera system. Especially consider getting to one that's wired. There's so many frequencies that operate very close to one another. You can still have it set up where if you're a techno geek type, you can dial it in from your phone and watch your house, but the cameras themselves are wired into a DVR and monitor. And so when the doorbell rings or somebody bangs on the door, you know, oh, that's my next door neighbor who is bringing a fruitcake, or that's the Mexican mafia that's got 6 people ready to come in and kidnap us. It'll keep you from going to that door. That's when you see the bad guys. And I'll also put up a fake UPS driver who had 4 guys with him who invaded a home in Houston, Texas, November 23rd, I think it was. That's when the police chief of Houston said he had never heard of anything like that. UPS keeps such tight controls over their uniforms. 5 minutes, I found them on eBay that look just like those uniforms. It would fool anybody. And I understand the secondhand shops have them too. So that would fool anybody, but most UPS drivers leave the packages. And so somebody comes there you don't know, don't open the door. So you get your strong door there, you have your cameras, and the cameras I'm talking about, you can get a system with a 1 terabyte DVR, a monitor, 4 cameras for $299, $399. You're talking about pretty reasonable. Those are weatherproof cameras. Consider an alarm. That can get into a lot of money. You can't afford that. Have just a alarm that you can hear on the entry doors. So if you forget to lock it, or somebody pushes it in, you'll at least hear it. It won't signal the police, but you'll at least hear it. Once you get through all of that, you need to consider having a firearm in the room of the house where you and your family hang out the most. Now, this is assuming you don't have young children to worry about. If you do, get you a quick entry safe there. I've tested a couple of those where you punch in your combination. I got into one, and we were actually filming for television. I think it was 1.5 seconds, so pretty quick. Have that in your family room. Let's say that's where you watch your TV. But after that, you want to set up a safe room. That doesn't imply Jodie Foster, well, you could spend $400 or $40,000. We're going to talk about the $400 to $750 safe room. That's normally your master bathroom. You want to have a plan where your entire family at a code word runs into that room. Now, what's so special about that room? You'll have a firearm, you'll have a phone in there, but you'll also have a heavy-duty door there that will have 3 hinges with 3.5 inch screws, and you will also have a deadbolt lock, and you'll also have a system that's kind of hard for me to describe. It's basically a farm fence handle that are angle irons, and where you can slip a pipe through the door that gives that door more support. The general, allegedly, that lived 1,500 years ago, well, actually 2,500 years ago, Sun Tzu said that if you're in the position, you hold the high ground and make the enemy come to you. You get in that safe room and make the criminals come to you. You have your gun pointed at that door. You've called 911. And if they start crashing through that door, instead of it taking the 45 seconds it would normally, it's going to take 3 or 4 minutes to get through the door that you've either constructed or had a contractor construct. And then when they come through there, your last line of defense is that firearm. So instead of getting out and fighting who knows who, you wait for them to come to you, and if you have to, you pull that trigger. We're going to step into a break right now. Remember, we're streaming on Facebook. You can listen to us on FM Talk 106.5 audio, and also on on Armed Alabama. You can listen to us live, and on some other stations. I'll get back. We'll be back in a minute on Armed Alabama.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
All right. By the way, the other app that you can listen to us on is called TuneIn Radio. And you can get that from the Google Play Store. Another app that you really ought to get there is called CCW from it's called Workman's Technology, I think, LLC. It is $1.99. It has the law of all 50 states on concealed carry, and it is well worth $1.99. And that's actually the first. Well, I have 2 apps on my phone that they didn't come with it. That one, and then they have, that same company has American Historic Documents, and it must have 200 historical documents in there. So that's pretty good. Remember, we are streaming live now on Facebook, and if you go to Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5, you will see us live, and there's a little delay. It's kind of like when we watched the first astronauts on the moon, we saw that delay happen. So it's kind of hard for me to watch it, but it's kind of a neat thing to see. But look down a little on that same page, and you'll see the New Jersey home invasion case, and take a look at that sometime, because, like I say, it's truly frightening. And I love it because Facebook, I first got a notice saying, you're trying to upload copyrighted music. And my response was, I wish that was copyrighted music. It's somebody screaming in the background. Yeah, and it is. That happened in New Jersey. I didn't put any more detail. He has been captured, thank goodness, because it is really a violent attack. I've got several more like that. But that's the difference between a burglary, because, as I said, home invasions, technically, there's no crime called home invasion, but what we call home invasion is a violent burglary where the occupants of the dwelling are physically injured and attacked, because you can have a burglary while your house is occupied and not even know it. You can get up the next day and say, where is everything? And everything's missing. But something like this is truly outrageous, and that's why you have a gun for something like that. Before we get in, before Matt Canovi calls, I do want to thank our sponsors, and they include, of course, our main sponsor is McCoy Outdoors. If you need something for Christmas, you need to go down to McCoy Outdoors. That's the place you go where and women too, men and women, where if you can't think of something to get, go just look around. I tell you, a Tipton gun vise, that is a mechanism. It's real hard plastic. You can put a rifle in there or even a pistol, and it kind of locks it in, and you can clean your firearm like you're supposed to. All the drippage will not get on. You don't have to put down paper and all that. So Tipton gun vise is one thing you might want to put down on your Christmas list, and 100 other items that I can think of. So McCoy's is locally owned and operated. That's very important. We got to support our local businesses. And they're on Spring Hill Avenue, just west of I-65. And that is in the old K&B store. And a few weeks ago, we had Wesley Parks on from that store, and he did a good job. They're good people down there, friendly people, and go and see them. And we've also got Grayson Heating and Air Conditioning, and lots of time people forget the hot weather's over. It could be 28 tomorrow night, so make sure your heat pump or your furnace is in operating condition. Nothing worse than it getting cold. So call them and get it checked out so it'll work when it gets cold. We've got Foster's Chiropractic. If you've got especially a back problem, as I've had in the past, check out a chiropractor. I got a lot of relief. I tried everything else, and I got a lot of relief from a chiropractor. It was kind of surprising. And you need to check out Palmer's Toyota. Go see David over there. David, he'll do anything. David Parnell, technically the having classed, I think, is the internet salesman. That doesn't matter. If you need a car, truck, whatever you need that drives on the road, he'll get it for you. Unless you're a sovereign citizen, I guess. They travel without license plates. So he wouldn't be able to help you there. Let me also, and Matt Green, the law office of Matt Green. Matt fills in for us occasionally and is one of our sponsors. Let me also mention for you, we're probably going to start a new program for people who give $2 or more a month on Patreon, that this perk will include monthly of having either a Google Hangout, a private Google Hangout session that'll last 60 to 90 minutes with just the people that have donated $2 or more a month through Patreon. With Adam and I, it'll be much like the format of the show, but no commercials, and it'll just be for us. And we'll give you the details on that, but we're going to do it. But you all may want to consider that. I think it'll be fun. Want to fill with the commercials, and it'll be a little more informal, and we'll kind of ask a consensus. Probably still do it in the evening, but there's a possibility if enough people want to, we'll do it on the weekend. But So it'll be internet based. You got to have an internet connection to do that. But a lot of people do that kind of thing. But that'll be monthly. We'll do that, and we'll answer questions. We'll let you talk, and there may wind up being 25 people on the. It's not a call, but it's kind of like that, and that'll be a fun thing to do. So that's a perk we're going to give you. And the way Patreon works, you'll see the links on our site, but it's www.patreon.com/Armed Alabama, and you can give $2, $3, $5, $10 a month. That'll help us close the gap between what the show costs to produce and what we're going on the whole on, because we want to keep going for another year, because we got a lot of employees around here that need to keep a job. They're not independently wealthy like some of us here are. We're just kidding on that one. Now, as I said, the firearm is the last line of defense. A lot of people are real smug. I'd blow him away if he came in my room. I've talked to too many police officers and probation officers, etc., that have had to kill, and let me tell you, they never get over it. If I have to defend my wife and family, I'm going to do it. But I'm going to try everything to avoid doing that. But it's going to happen in a split second. And you want to do these other things I've discussed before you do that. Another thing you should consider for your safe room is, they used to call them key fobs. I guess they still do. A large key fob, maybe like half of a wooden ruler with your home address written on it. Now, why would you have that? So when the police come, they're not going to, let's say the criminals have had a spare key to your door. And by the way, you move into any house, either change all the locks or have them rekeyed. Don't try to save $100, because who knows how many people have keys to your house. But you may be in that house and they've gotten in some other way, and the police will either have to break the door down or you're going to have to let them in. And you don't know if there are people still in the house, so you want to have the ability maybe to lower a window and throw that key fob with the keys on it out a window so the police can come in normally. Of course, before you let anybody in your safe room, you make sure you know it's really the police, either by verifying it through 911, getting ID passed under the door. That's a little dangerous because fake IDs are so common. You can even put one of your extra cameras outside your safe room. Now, conceal those cameras. They're pretty easy to conceal, but that's an option. But if you have any medication that's essential, like insulin, something you can't go 12 hours without, put it in that safe room. Also have you some water and have a fire extinguisher in there, just in case somebody that's cute decides to smoke you out or tries to start a fire in there. You got to, think ahead. I don't know your particular situation, but you got to think ahead. Because last thing, as I said, you want to do is go out and do battle with who knows who. They know more than you do. They've done the intel. You haven't. And you can overcome this, but I don't know how many people that I've heard about rushing out into the dark. I talked about the lights going off. Most people don't have automatic generators that cut on, but you can easily buy lights that either plug in or wire in that run on a battery, that when your lights go off, they'll give you some lighting for a couple of hours. Think about putting those in. Worst thing that could happen is lots of people have on their outside their breaker box. Somebody just to cut the lights off during the middle of a home invasion, and your lights to go off, and the invaders have their lights. That would be really frightening. But if I was going to do it, that's what I would do. And of course, I'd put some spike strips at the top of the street so the police would hit those when they came to your rescue. I would do it upright. So you got to think like a smart criminal, which fortunately we don't have many of them around here, but who knows when we might have one. As I said, Matt will be calling in a minute. We got to step into a break here in a second, but if you've got any questions so far, give us a call, 251-343-0106. go to the Facebook page, watch us live. That is Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. If you're marginal and hearing us on the FM dial, you can go to FM Talk 106.5 or go to Armed Alabama and listen to us on that on our webpage, or TuneIn Radio. If you don't have the app, go to the Google Play Store, or if you're a iTunes person or whatever that brand of phone is, iPhone, you would have to go to the iTunes Store and download that. But there are a lot of ways to listen in addition to our archives for old shows. We'll step into a break. You got all those numbers, and think about some question that you really want to know the answer to, and we'll be back after the break with Armed Alabama. Dying ain't much of a living. Matt Canovi is up in the territory where Josie Wales at least started. I know they went all the way to the Mexican border. Another thing you need to consider is if you have a automatic garage door, if you have a garage, first of all, and an automatic garage door opener, have it well lit and don't have a bunch of don't have any hiding places near it. Matt was telling me that in Springfield, maybe it was last week, that some criminals, I'll just tell you the way it is. This is not, this is just a comment on the times. A lot of Asian business owners, especially Vietnamese, don't like banks, and they keep the money at their homes. And this man ran a restaurant, and he had hiding places near his garage door, and there were 3 or 4 criminals waiting for him when he came home. Maybe fortunately for him, when his door came up, it jammed, and there were 2 or 3 criminals waiting there. So their original plan was to get into the house, hold everybody hostage, find the money, if necessary, torture the women that were in the house, get the money. They were just satisfied by beating the heck out of him and taking off. So don't keep a bunch of money in the house, but for goodness sake, have it well lit and no hiding places. Windows, if you've got nice windows that people can see in, don't have valuables where people can see through the windows. Guns, mink coats, whatever is valuable. It's better to keep the blinds closed, but I know how women are. They want to have everything nice and open. Just don't have valuables there. It's like in your car. You can keep a pistol in your trunk pretty safely because no criminal's going to go around popping every trunk open, but they'll sure go through a parking lot looking in every window. They see a pistol laying there in the seat, it's gone. Don't have valuables where people can see them, because you'd be surprised how many people come by. Those people that come by wanting to sell cleaner for your rug, they're not selling cleaner for your rug. I have news for you. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Do not shake a stranger's hand that comes to your door. Don't even open the door, but don't shake a stranger's hand. A stranger getting in you in a lock like that with a handshake, that may be it. If you're not concerned about yourself, you need to be concerned about your family. And it is, anybody that argues to you it is immoral to kill a criminal attacker, I will counter, it is immoral not to kill the criminal attacker, because number one, you are leaving your family dependent and helpless now because you're dead, and second, you're leaving a criminal who is dangerous alive. So you don't want to go out looking for trouble, but if there is an attack like that, you want to do what's necessary, and you don't want to put yourself into harm's way. And that's what you do when you just open a door to somebody, you don't know who they are. That's America these days, folks. They did in 1950 when you could leave the door unlocked. Things have changed. I've seen every kind of horrible thing you can imagine. And as I said, maybe that's good. It doesn't show up in the newspaper, but it happens. And the problem is the individuals that this happens to, they're just voices calling out in the night. We need more prison space, but people would rather have nice roads. People would rather have more housing space at the University of Alabama. We need more prisons. The more people there are in prisons, the safer we are. I can tell you that. It takes a lot for a first-time offender to get put in the penitentiary, like murdering somebody. There's no first-time drug offenders in the penitentiary. There are no first-time burglars in the penitentiary. It takes a lot to get somebody put in the penitentiary. But you need to think about these things I'm talking about. Everybody put smoke alarms, smoke detectors in. Your chance of being burglarized are a lot greater than your house catching on fire or carbon monoxide harming you. Most burglars, let's say the average burglars, the most burglars, they commit at least 100 burglaries per year. Now that maybe sounds like a lot, maybe doesn't. The average burglar costs you and society almost $7,500. That doesn't necessarily mean your goods, but what it means is the cost of you replacing your goods, repairing the damage, the cost of your insurance going up, the cost of the police response, if they are caught, the cost of the prosecution. See how expensive it is? If they commit 100 of those, it's cheaper to have them sit in the penitentiary than it is out on the streets committing more burglaries. So when people say, well, we shouldn't have all these nonviolent offenders, that's what they call a burglar now, a nonviolent offender, when he certainly isn't. It's not cheaper. It's cheaper to leave them in the penitentiary because the economic cost to society, and somebody's just reminded me because that was on my list, a dog of any type is good, but especially one that can put a bite on somebody. A lot of criminals are deathly afraid of dogs, but like I say, one that can actually bite somebody is a double bonus for you, because you've got an extra mouth there working for you. And that can also, a burglar comes in your house and isn't expecting a dog, you know, that's a diversion that he wasn't expecting. I say he because 90% of burglars or more are men. You know, men commit most crimes. As I've said before, the crimes that women commit are usually shooting or killing their abusive boyfriends or husbands. Not saying that's right, but that's just kind of a fact. And writing bad checks. If they're, I guess, or passing, I guess, bad credit cards now. You know, if people stop writing bad checks and bad financial instruments, state of Alabama would have to raise taxes. The state makes so much money off court costs and fees associated with bad checks, you would be amazed at that. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Do you really want people to clean up their act and balance their checkbooks and not do all that? Or do you want them to keep doing what they're doing and have all that money keep flowing in? I think it's better that people don't, but it's a strange system. The courts operate by too many user fees, and it kind of almost encourages criminality when they have to have money to pay, you know, various fees for this and that. That ought to be just like the fire department is. They come put out your house, at least in the city, you don't owe them a fee for that. They put out your house. That's just the cost of living in a organized society. I know some rural fire departments ask for a fee of X number of dollars a year, but in a city, that's just the cost of fire and police work in your taxes. Other stuff certainly should have a fee added because they're not an essential part of government. Museums, parks, etc. But police and fire protection, there's something else. And by the way, I finally went and toured a state penitentiary. I'd avoided it for years because I didn't want to see where I was sending people. They were actually pretty nice. They were so much nicer than the county jail because the county jail has too many people crowded in it. I was shocked at how nice they were. Now, tell you again, we're on Facebook Live, and that address is Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. Go there. You can actually type a question. We'll try to read it on Facebook Live. Go to FM Talk 106.5 on the internet if you are having trouble hearing, or the TuneIn app on your radio, or to the Armed Alabama website. You can hear us on all of those places, and think up some more questions, because I think we're getting listeners tonight and not ask-a-questioners. And if you want to challenge anything I've said, give it a try. You know, I like to argue. But tune into one of those, and we'll be stepping into a break in a second on Armed Alabama, and this is our top of the hour break. When we come back, we'll have Matt Canovi with us, whose background is phenomenal, and I'll post it later, so I don't want to spend the time on it, but he was a Marine, he was a police officer, he's been an instructor, he's done it all. So we'll be back after the top of the hour with Armed Alabama. Take care. See you then.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
We'll expect showers tonight. Low temperatures will be in the upper 50s at daybreak. For Wednesday, a few morning showers and becoming partly cloudy and cooler with highs in the mid-60s. And the outlook for Thursday, sunny and cool with highs in the mid-50s. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 106.5.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority. The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston, and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands. When they come, take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when they signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up to fight for my freedoms and rights. That's a price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like a fight that you're itching for.
Good evening. This is Judge Rusty Johnston, and welcome back to Armed Alabama. As I said, this is our home hardening and home defense show tonight. It's Christmas time, and we want to make sure you know what to do in the event your home is burglarized or attacked by home invaders. Adam Strange is off tonight. He's got the stomach bug, and we got a strict rule around here that you can't talk to us if you can't come into the studio if you've got any form of the stomach bug, because that's highly contagious. This is the show that we talk about pistols, revolvers, rifles, shotguns, ammunition, concealed carry, personal defense training, home hardening, and attacks on our God-given right to protect ourselves and our families. We're going to try to keep our questions focused on home hardening and home defense tonight. We did have a follow-up question, what kind of holly? I think it's the normal, it's not, there is a native holly, if you've ever seen it, that grows here. It'll grow 50 feet tall. I think it's that same holly that you're keeping trimmed down to 2 or 3 feet. You know, it was planted so long ago when I moved into that house, and that was in 88, that I have forgotten, but I think it's the same holly. Now, you're keeping it trimmed so low that that it doesn't ever produce the red berries on it like it normally would this time of year. But no, it's the same kind of holly. And I tell you, when you have to trim it, it really kind of cuts you up when you're doing that. So that's what you want. But if you've never noticed it, you can go out and, especially the hardwoods, that holly, the native holly around here, it'll grow to be a 75-foot tree, basically. Let's try to get Larry taken care of before Matt calls in. Larry, can we help you?
Yes, sir. How you doing tonight?
Fine. How about you, Larry?
I'm good. Merry Christmas to you.
Same to you.
Look here, I have a real unusual situation. I moved down here for the warmth because I have a carnival, and I go gives me an extra 2 months a year.
Okay.
I live in a truck and in my tent on a lot in between two houses.
Yeah.
All right. I keep a rifle that I legally purchased from Walmart.
Yeah.
All right. I keep it with a safety on all the time.
Okay.
Now, if I go to the tent, I carry the rifle to the tent. If I go to the truck, I carry the rifle to the truck. I put it behind the seat so there's no way to instantly get to it.
Yeah.
Now, what are my rights if somebody was to try to break in to the tent or to my vehicle?
Well, your tent becomes your dwelling. I mean, that's your dwelling. I mean, I assume you're living there legally and all that, correct?
Yes, I'm here legally.
Yeah.
I pay a lot rent every month
Okay.
and all that kind of stuff. I also, behind my tent, I have one little space that is kind of open. I have all kind of glass shards behind that where they can't sneak up on the back side of my tent.
Yeah, well, that's another issue. Let's not talk about that yet. But you have the same rights as somebody that owns a house. But let's go through it. If somebody comes into that tent, let's say slashes through the tent and comes through, that's like somebody that's broken into the house. Before you can use deadly force against them, you have to be reasonably certain that you have to reasonably believe that that person is about to use unlawful physical force against you, like you're afraid they're going to hit you.
Yeah.
Or do something like that. When they break in or slice their way in, they have entered unlawfully. They're committing a burglary.
Yeah.
Unless it's an Alzheimer's patient or a drunk that just stumbled, and I'm excluding that. A criminal.
I would not harm anybody that would not intend to hurt.
Okay, that's one. Or if they've come in for the purpose of kidnapping somebody in the tent, or raping somebody in the tent, robbing somebody in the tent, you can use deadly force. If they have come in there to, let's see, there are a couple of other specific reasons. I don't know. You're not a nuclear power facility, so you don't have to fool with that. Let me ask you, you probably don't, can you get on the internet where you are? Because I'm actually going to post these.
No, I can't, sir.
Okay, I'll finish with you.
Because my computer went down right before
just keep listening.
To Mobile.
Okay, you're lawfully there. You're not doing anything illegal. And so that means you don't have to leave, you don't have to run. And it's, as I said, is proportionality. If somebody comes through there and they've got a water balloon, and they say, I'm going to kill you, and they've got a water balloon. Well, you can't shoot them. They've got a water balloon. But if they come through there and they got a baseball bat, and they say, give me your money, or I'll let you have it, baseball bat is actually capable of use deadly force. Okay. So you sure can.
Okay, so they have to do kind of I have to make sure that they're about to use deadly force.
No, if physical force.
Physical force.
Yeah, which is really any type of force.
Okay.
Got to run. Our guest is on the line, but that's pretty much it.
Okay. Well,
okay.
I knew that was an unusual case.
It's not really. It's just like a house. You got the same rights as somebody in a house does.
Okay, yeah, because I pay a rent every month and all that kind of stuff.
Just like a house. Let me run. All right. Hey, Matt Canovi, welcome.
Well, Judge, thanks so much for having me.
I told him to do that since so many times I call the gun show Saturday mornings and nobody answers.
There it is.
It's just kind of a bad feeling. I don't know what happened there, but folks, we got on the line Matt Canovi, who is, I said I'm going to post your resume earlier. He's head of Matt Canovi Associates in American Defense Academy, a Marine, former police officer, police trainer. But what we have him on tonight for is to talk about shotguns and whether you should have a tactical or combat shotgun to use in home defense. And Matt, we got about 2 minutes, so why don't you kind of get started with it? What do you think about combat or tactical or home defense shotguns as a part of your arsenal?
Well, I'll tell you what, Judge, when it comes to home defense, there is no one set firearm or caliber or personal defense weapon that somebody can just blanketly throw out and say, this is it for everybody. Because everybody's got their own individual personal defense needs, concerns, physical limitations, training limitations, strength limitations, all of that factors into it. So what we've done is, and what I believe, is that you have to look at the pros and cons of several different types of firearms and then make your own decision.
Right.
Now, when you look at the pros and cons of a shotgun,
well, Matt, why don't we do this?
There are far more cons than there are pros.
Matt, we're right up against a break. Why don't we come back and do the pros and cons? And I still remember, was her name Ethel or Myrtle, the older lady that had the shotgun that had about knocked her down?
Esther.
Esther. We'll find that. But let's step into a break here, and when we come back, we'll talk about those pros and cons of shotguns versus other type of, carbines, pistols, etc. Because I know you and I have talked about them, in the past, and all have their pros and cons. But there's some good home defense firearms out there, and the world's pretty big. But we'll step into the break and be back in a couple of minutes with Armed Alabama.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
Good luck. Before I get going, we've got a caller on the line, Keith. Keith, hopefully he's listening. Keith, the next class was this Saturday, but President-elect Trump is coming to town this Saturday, so we canceled the class because we had a number of people that wanted to go to it. We're trying to set one up, we will set one up in January. This date, not certain at this point. Just keep watching the website, and we'll have that set up for you. All right, we have on the line Matt Canovi of Canovi Associates, who is in Springfield, Missouri, and we were going to start talking about the different types of options available in firearms to defend your home. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, again, thanks so much for having me, Judge. And this question comes up so much in personal defense and conversations I've had and lectures and so on that I actually put it in as Chapter 2 of my latest book, The Real Secrets of Home and Personal Defense, and it's titled How to Choose a Home Defense Firearm by Pros and Cons.
And that's available at Amazon, right?
We started it off with we're going to look at handguns, rifles, shotguns, tactical rifles, and the .22 caliber tactical rifles that are now available on the market.
Right.
And when you look at pros and cons, because as I said before we went to the break, there is no one set weapon, personal defense item that you can say is good for everybody, no matter how old, no matter how young, no matter how big, no matter how small, no matter how weak, no matter how strong. So you've got to look at pros and cons and find the best one that fits your needs and your limitations, your training limitations, size, ability to practice, strength issues, all kinds of stuff. So what we did is, when you break it all down, we look at the shotgun. There are pros and cons. And one of the pros, we'll look at the positives here, and that is that with one pull of the trigger, you get multiple projectiles. So that's the big thing about a shotgun. It's smooth bore, so you pull a trigger, and, for example, double-aught buck gives you 9 .33 caliber pellets. So press the trigger once, you got 9 shots coming out. So each pellet hits the target. Each pellet's got its own crush channel. So you've got 9 crush channels going into a person's body as opposed to 1. So that's a positive. It has a longer sight plane than a handgun. It's a little more accurate. Also, something that a lot of people don't think about is the fact that it's got a loud noise to alert neighbors. Now, this comes from, there was a serial rapist in Kansas. They called him the BTK killer.
Oh, yeah.
And he was going around for about 20 years. And when he finally got caught, he admitted that he had a .22 pistol and a .357 Magnum. But he would use the .22 pistol inside the home because in a residential setting, he didn't want the loud report, the loud noise that might alert other neighbors. So that is a factor. So here, if somebody breaks in, a plus is the shotgun's really loud, your neighbors are here, hopefully they'll call the police. So that is a positive you want to look at as opposed to a .22. Inside your home might be so quiet, neighbors might not hear, you might need help, and nobody's there to call help. Then there is a less over-penetration concern with a shotgun with selected ammunition. Bird shot, for example, number 7 or number 8 shot. Number 7 bird shot, memory serves me right, 12 gauge, has got 650 individual pellets. Now, when they hit a human body, they do tremendous damage. But if they hit a wall or a 2x4 or siding and so on and so forth, because of each projectile is so small in size, and the kinetic energy behind it is so limited, it really doesn't have a lot of penetration as opposed to double-aught buck or a deer slug, the slug, the 1.5 ounce projectile of lead. That'll go through, I've seen it go through car doors, both sides. Yeah. Driver's car door, passenger car door. So those are the pros of the shotgun. Now, Judge, do you have some other pros you might be able to factor in?
Well, I tell you, I was getting ready to say this is a pro, but it's what people think is a pro, but is certainly not. There's no shotgun spread to speak of. At 25 feet, I think I have the same Benelli that you do. I have it right here. At 25 feet, it was still like a saucer, the spread on, a 12 gauge double-aught, which is, most people think you can just point and fire, and you can't.
That is correct.
But you have to practice with what you're going to be shooting, but it is devastating. It's the closest thing. No such thing as knockdown power, of course, but it's darn sure the closest thing to knockdown power you got.
Well, and to give you an idea, Judge, that is the biggest myth out there about the shotgun. People think, well, look, I don't have to practice with it. I don't have to even do anything except just load it, point it in the general direction, pull the trigger, and it's the magic gun with the magic bullet. I don't have to do anything except point it, and it's going to do all the work for me.
Sprays everybody. Yeah.
It's really not the way it is. Out of my Benelli, and probably it's the same as yours, at 15 feet and inside your home, I don't see how the bad guy, if somebody breaks into your home, is going to be any greater distance than 15 feet from the tip of your barrel to their body. I mean, my living room is about 25 feet by 20 feet. And by the time I'm standing in a room a couple feet off the wall, he's standing in a room a couple feet off the wall, it's going to be less than 15 feet. But to give you an example, at 15 feet, with an 18-inch barrel Benelli tactical shotgun, bird shot spreads out 8 inches. So like you said, about a pie plate. And that's bird shot. Now, when you go it goes out further. If you go at 25 feet, and I don't have any idea why anybody would be shooting at somebody 25 feet away, but that goes out to almost 13-inch spread. Now, when you go ahead and try that with the double-aught buck, now double-aught buck at 15 feet has got a 4-inch pattern. So you could go for a headshot with double-aught buck.
Right.
Now, less than 15 feet, the pattern's even tighter. So 10 feet away, the pattern's going to be about 2 inches. Now, with double-aught buck, again, if you step back to 25 feet, the pattern ends up being 5 inches. So all 9 pellets are in 5 inches. So the whole myth about this shotgun just pointed, it's the magic gun for home defense. You don't have to practice, you don't have to aim, just point it, and you'll start shooting, and it does everything. That's not true. It really is not true. It's far from true. And that's the biggest problem that most people have, is that they think that the shotgun is the secret weapon, and it's not. That's part of the negative. Part of the con to it is this myth that the shotgun pellets expand, and they do at great distance, but inside the home, there's not enough distance. They're not going to expand. And the gun is very heavy. To go to the other negatives, they've got a very hard recoil. I mean, how many people have said, hey, the shotgun almost knocked me on my butt? Then you've also got the ammunition is expensive, relatively expensive, and that means people don't like to spend money on it to practice. Plus, the thing kicks so much, people don't like to practice because it's not fun to shoot. The tactical shotgun, now Judge, my Benelli is about 40 inches from the very butt to the tip of the barrel.
And I've got a camera here, and I'm going to show, if we got it, can get it in the camera, Chase. Do I need to back up a little? Yeah, it's the same thing. And mine is about 1 inch longer because I've got that breacher choke, at the end. So it is long.
And the reason that's important is the average hallway is 42 inches wide. So if you're walking down your hallway with this 40-inch wide shotgun, and then you have to turn or move, you've only got 1 inch worth of clearing on each side. You have to be perfectly in the middle of the hallway and pivot perfectly, or you're going to have to elevate the barrel up or elevate it down, then bring it back down on target or up on target. All of that, so it's difficult to maneuver. And then next, they're usually pretty darn heavy.
Yep.
Especially for, as you mentioned, that 70-plus-year-old lady, Esther.
And I've actually put embedded you and her in the shotgun and the tactical 22 on the Facebook page, so people can look at that.
Oh, man, I tell you what, she was ecstatic with that tactical 22. And I know a lot of people listening. And, Judge, I bought into this years ago.
Oh, me too.
I bought into the whole knockdown power thing. I carried a 45 1911, 45 ACP for knockdown power.
Yep.
I was a competitive shooter. I fired that. I trained with it. But after my first and second partners in police work were involved in shootings, and I realized there was no knockdown power, it changed my whole attitude on...
Matt, we got a hard break. We better... Let's take a break, and we'll be back after the news at the bottom of the hour. This is Armed Alabama, and we'll see you in about 5 minutes. Hang on. And we're the guys talking about the gun. This is Rusty Johnston, and I have as our guest Matt Canovi, and we solicit your phone calls on anything related to home defense weapons, home hardening, anything like that. Listen, Matt knows 10 times as much as I do, so give us a call here. Matt, what about pump shotguns? We've kind of been talking about semi-autos. Tell us about that.
Well, we're getting same thing with pros and cons of the shotgun. One of the cons, the negatives, is that the shotgun has got the pump action shotgun. That's a complicated loading and unloading system, and it requires significant strength. So if you've got, especially a female or an elderly female, they have to have enough strength to pull the foregrip backwards to pull a round out of the tube, the magazine tube, and then have enough strength to pull it back a little bit further than that to cock the hammer. And then they have to have enough strength to bring it forward so it goes up into the chamber so the gun will fire. Then once it fires, you've got to repeat that process, and you have to do it quickly. And if you do it too quickly, when you pull that foregrip backwards, you'll short stroke the shotgun.
I've seen people do that.
What that means is you'll pull it backwards, the foregrip backwards, and it'll pull a round out of the magazine tube, and it'll put it on the carrier, and then you need to pull it back another half-inch or so to cock the hammer. You have to pull it back far enough to pull a round out of the tube, and then pull it back a little further to cock the hammer. Then you got to pull it forward. A lot of people, when they're trying to go quick, especially if they're scared, I've seen them do it in competition, where they're under a little bit of stress, trying to go a little too fast, and they'll successfully pull the round out of the magazine tube. It'll be on the carrier, but they don't pull it back far enough to cock the gun. And then they already cock the hammer. Then they pull it up, it goes into the chamber, they aim in, press the trigger, and the gun doesn't shoot. Whereas if you had a semi-auto, it does that automatically.
Right.
Point, pull the trigger, it ejects the old hole, cocks the hammer, pulls the new round out of the tube into the chamber. You're ready to shoot in 1/3 of a second. So the pump shotgun's got a lot of downsides to it. The main thing is strength and the fact that it's so complicated to operate. And again, Judge, this is something that you have to be able to do under stress.
Right.
And the average gunfight's going to be over in about 2.5 seconds.
More stress than you've probably ever been in.
Around.
Yeah.
So if you really want to go with a shotgun, if that's the thing you really practice with, you're very good with it, I'd say go with the semi-autos.
Right.
And you're Vanelli. Have you ever had a jam?
No.
Same with mine. I've never had that thing jam, and I fired the heck out. There were times when I was doing tactical training, I tried to fire fast enough to jam it, and I couldn't do it. And
you got to make sure your ammo.
My website, you can go ahead and say
if it's
the fastest I could shoot that thing, and it's still never jammed. So get yourself a good quality semi-auto. If you're really hell bent on you got to have that shotgun, then get yourself a semi-auto. And since we're talking about the shotgun, Judge, I know that you've heard before people say, well, you want to pull that foregrip back and really rack that round and scare the heck out of the bad guy.
Oh, yeah, they'll run away.
That kind of thing. You know what? If somebody's in my house, the last thing I want to do is approach them with an unloaded gun.
Yep.
Because that's what you have to do if you plan on racking that foregrip back and making that noise to scare them. So why would I ever want to approach somebody in my home, a dangerous situation, life-threatening, with an unloaded gun?
You're telling them I'm over here in the dark with an unloaded gun.
And Judge, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no need to warn anybody.
No.
Once they're in your home and you have a reasonable belief they're going to put you at risk of death or serious physical injury.
If you've got the right to use deadly force, you don't have to warn anybody. Morally, you may want to.
He'll be warned when he hears this thing go off and feels the pellets hit him. that's warning enough.
Yeah, when he's got those pellets coming at him at 1,300 feet per second, he'll know you got a shotgun.
Yeah, that's warning enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for all those reasons, I really am not a big fan of the shotgun for home defense. And I know it pops a lot of people's bubbles, but we're here to talk about the reality.
Well, it's kind of an old. Well, another thing, most people like pumps because 50 years ago the story was semi-autos weren't reliable. They are now. And,
very much. Very much. And Judge, one of the things I tell my students when they bring that up is, if revolvers and pump shotguns were the most reliable, as a lot of people have said, if they were more reliable than semi-automatics, then why would every organized army in the world be shooting semi-automatics or fully automatic?
There you go.
The toughest conditions for a weapon to operate are military conditions.
Yep.
Yet all militaries have gone to semi-auto or fully automatic.
Yeah, you're right. I tell you, you're right about the Benelli. Now, I found, because mine's an inertia one, if you get an underpowered load, that's why you got to run some rounds through it. You may have a problem with it ejecting it, but that's just a matter of, I knew that before, going in. So I didn't run through Walmart, whatever ammo. A good quality ammo.
Yeah, got to get the high brass.
Absolutely.
Going to do that.
Sure. And it has a little bit of extra kick to it because of that.
Well, and Judge, what do you think about, I know you've seen the video with Esther.
Yeah.
70-plus-year-old gal. She fired that shotgun, and she was not, and that was a 20 gauge.
I tell you,
and for your listeners,
I didn't realize
she went and bought a youth model 20 gauge pump shotgun.
Wow. See, a 20 almost knocked.
It was a 26-inch barrel.
A 20 almost knocked my wife over.
18 feet. The pattern was as big as a quarter.
Wow.
That was it.
And, people think they can go to 20 and get less recoil, which is true, but then there's less variety of ammunition in 20 gauge. So it's a big trade-off.
And you still get the recoil. Nowadays, the semi-autos are so dependable. And Judge, I know you'll agree with me on this. The new tactical rifles, a 9mm tactical rifle, that's short, controllable, lightweight.
I'm going to show them one right here.
9mm handgun, you're buying one ammo, same ammo for the handgun you're putting in your rifle for home defense or personal defense. Good Lord.
And
that's
Matt, what I'm showing them is that
with the tactical 22 that Smith & Wesson makes, they make the Smith & Wesson M&P 1522. Judge, I don't know if you've got one, but I've got a couple of them, and I have never had a jam shooting rimfire ammo or a misfire with that Smith & Wesson M&P.
Yeah, as long as I don't put the Filipino ammo in it.
Subsonic. Yeah. And I thought for sure it'd jam the gun, but it didn't.
Matt, I'm showing them that Beretta Storm 9mm I have that is short and takes the same. Well, you can get it for different No, I think this one just takes the M9 magazine, but it takes a 30-round magazine, no recoil to it, and I think it is 34 inches. 34 inches long, so it's real maneuverable, and it doesn't scare people like Esther was scared there. Let's take a caller. We've got, let's see, Sherman from Grand Bay, which is down near where I took you when you were here. Sherman, you're on there with myself and Matt Canovi. How are you?
Judge, I was just wondering what, I had two questions. You were talking about dogs earlier.
Yeah.
Turn your radio in the event.
Turn your radio down, Sherman. We're getting some feedback.
Hold on, I'll cut it off. Here,
okay.
While we wait.
TikTok. Okay, go ahead.
I knew. I got all the circles. I got all that. In the event you have an intruder.
Yep.
I have a shepherd. I know of an incident that happened about 10 years ago. Guy came in and terminated the dog.
How did he do that?
With a gun, with a
pistol. Well, I hate to say it, he accomplished his purpose, because if you were asleep, that shot woke you up. The dog sacrificed himself to save your life, because the dog going after the burglar, it woke you up. And, we know he's not going to kill a burglar. I mean, that's impossible.
That's correct.
But he warned you if you're sleeping sound. Wouldn't you agree with me, Matt?
Oh, Judge, I agree 1,000,000%. In my book, we talk about that as a great low-cost alarm system. Just get a dog. All the dog's got to do. I don't need a big attack dog. I just need one of those little yapping dogs that barks at everything.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I like dogs even more so than electronic alarms.
Yeah.
Because a dog can smell somebody 20, 30 feet away from the house, whereas the alarm usually won't go off till somebody breaks a window or actually comes in and sets off the microwave system. Whereas a dog can either smell them or hear them before he even gets on your porch or gets near your house.
Right.
And once they start barking, that's all I want them to do.
Yeah.
If they decide to attack, that's okay. And the guy, in this scenario, pulls the trigger and shoots at the dog. Well, that just gives me more time to get to my gun and shoot him.
And Sherman, did you have a shotgun question too?
I do. What is the shortest legal that you can own, and what advantage is there, if there is any, since y'all are talking about shotguns, and what's the best ammo? And I'll hang up and listen.
Okay. Well, that question's kind of complicated, because legal, you can buy your stamp and fill out the forms, and you can go. We got 30 seconds, Matt. We probably ought to come back and do it after the break, but I was thinking, 18 without fooling with the federal firearms, National Firearms Act, but you can go another route. But when we come back, why don't you tell them about your 10-inch barrel and what it accomplished or didn't accomplish, because that was a fascinating story that you told me. But we're up against a break. We'll be right back with Armed Alabama after the break. So hang on.
Could you defend? Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
There we go. To finish up Sherman's question real quick, without going and getting a license through the National Firearms Act, an 18-inch barrel, but it still is the shortest legal barrel you can have, but it still has to be at least 26 inches long. In other words, you can have an 18-inch barrel, but if you have a pistol grip and it makes it shorter than 26 inches long, and the way you measure the barrel, you get best thing is a wooden dowel. You close the action, you slip it down the barrel, and most people make actually 18 and a half, 18 and a quarter, just to have that little extra on there. Ray, you hang on, we're going to try to get to you, but Matt, you had an unusual shotgun when you were a police officer. Tell us about it.
Well, and thanks so much for letting everybody know that I had it when I was a police officer, and police officers are exempt from having to get that tax stamp and all that other stuff. So,
right.
But I had it was a Winchester. I don't even know if they make this model anymore, but it was a Winchester Ranger 1400, and it was a 3-shot semi-auto, and it had a recoil spring in it. It was a great little gun. I used it, a really low cost, and it was for hunting. It had 3 shots in it. And what I did is I put a pistol grip on it, and I cut the barrel down to 10 inches. So almost right where the foregrip and the little bit of the magazine tube that sticks out in front of the foregrip, right about it to the top of that little piece of the magazine that sticks out beyond, or even with that, was the end of the barrel.
Wow.
And this thing was super short, and I used it for executing search warrants, or if we had to go into a home and do something close quarter combat. At least that's what I thought. I was a young guy, and I thought the shotgun for knockdown power and spread pattern and all that other stuff. Well, one day I was out test firing this thing to make sure that I have the right idea about how big the spread pattern is going to be. And I'm 15 feet away. I paced it off 15 feet away from a tree. And I've got bird shot in it. And I fired 15 feet away, and the pattern on the tree was only from the bottom of my palm to the tip of my middle finger, so roughly about 7 inches.
Wow.
So with a 10-inch barrel, the pattern only spread at 15 feet, 10 inches.
So it didn't increase the spread at all.
10 feet, I didn't test it any further, but if I was at 10 feet, it would probably only been about half that, probably 4 inches. So really, when you chop off this barrel with the new shotgun shells and holes and wadding and buffer that they have in the new shotgun shells, this pattern really doesn't expand out at all. And the gun kicked so much, it hurt so much because it had a pistol grip, so my hand was taking up the recoil for every shot. I tell you what, after the second shot, I didn't want to shoot it anymore. And I could imagine in a real gunfight, I'd hesitate and flinch because this darn thing just kicked too much. So I got rid of it. And I really went to a high-capacity 9mm handgun, double action, point and shoot, and then I've moved into that for the home defense with my tactical AR platform, 9mm.
And see, all that gun really was, it was more concealable.
Yes.
It wasn't any more deadly. Let's see. Ray has a question, difference between armed robbery and, I can't quite see. Ray, difference between armed robbery and... Burglary. Okay.
Yes.
And everybody says, my house got robbed. Well, they mean burglarized. Yeah. An armed robbery is this, is if someone uses is when someone either uses a deadly weapon or dangerous instrument. That can be a baseball bat or a gun or a knife, or either they cause physical injury to another person, or make you think they have a weapon and use force or the threat of force in order to steal. In other words, somebody comes into a store and they either have a gun, or they either make you think they have a gun, or in the process of stealing, they injure you. So they pull out a gun and say, give me all your money, or they injure you, fighting with you, taking your money, or make you think, hey, don't make me use this. They pat their, where they would normally keep a gun. A burglary is breaking into a dwelling, whether it's occupied or not, for the purpose of committing a crime. It used to be a felony and as a crime. The crime can be theft, that's the normal burglary, or it could be rape, or it could be kidnapping. But the normal burglary is stealing goods.
Correct.
So most people mean their house was burglarized, not robbed.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, here's my question.
Okay.
If somebody breaks into your house while you're home,
yep,
and beats you half to death, but they didn't have a weapon with them, is that a burglary or is that armed robbery?
Unless they demanded, said, give me all your goods, that can be a robbery. Somebody breaks in and said, where do you keep your dope? Give it to me. That's a robbery.
We talked about this last week.
If somebody breaks in and you just wake up and they hit you over the head with a baseball bat, that's a burglary because they hadn't said anything to you. It's not necessary. It's using force or the threat of force in order to get your property from you.
Right.
A burglar can still hurt you in the process, but he's trying to get your goods out of there generally, commit a crime.
Well,
and I'm kind of short on time, so kind of make it concise here.
the penalty on armed robbery and burglary are
They're the
miles
same.
apart, right?
Well, they're the same unless you have a firearm in either case, and then there's an add-on to it. But yeah, they're the same. They're both Class A felonies.
Okay. Well, we talked about this last week, and if somebody breaks into my house through locked doors,
I know. I got to run. I got another caller. We're almost over. I know you got a problem with the law, and I may be too, but that's just the way it is. So, got to run. Got to get this last caller. Yes, sir. LD.
Hey guys, real quick.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a shotgun, and y'all might can tell me where it is. It's called, I don't know who manufactures it. It's called a street sweeper.
Well, let me tell you to do something better. Get one called the Sega 12 gauge. I've got one. You need, if you're not handy with guns,
I'm not.
Okay, you need to have it, quote, converted. It will hold a 20-round detachable magazine. The Street Sweepers magazine it may be 15. It's not detachable. It will cost you 5 times the amount of the Street Sweeper that hadn't been made in 20 years.
Yeah.
Now, they can't import any more Sega shotguns, but that's the way you want to go if you want a high capacity like that. They're not precision shotguns. They're made in Russia. But if you just want the novelty of it, SAIGA.
SAIGA. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, sure. Same to you. Yeah, Matt, I enjoyed kind of playing around with that one. And we're coming up on the top of the hour. Let me let you run, Matt. We're going to have you again, and let me kind of take care of some business. Anybody near Springfield, look up Canovi Associates or American Defense Academy. It's a wonderful shooting place. You ought to go by and see it. Thank you, Matt. I'll talk to you Saturday.
Thank you, Judge. Take care.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we couldn't make it without our sponsors. Go by and see McCoy's. Go by and see Foster's Chiropractic and David Parnell. Let's see, and Grayson's Air Conditioning. Member Patreon. We need some more money in there. Give $2 a month or more. We're going to start our either Google Hangouts, our once a month VIP private talk. And next week, we'll have another exciting show. Remember, it's Christmas time. Be careful out there because the criminals are definitely working it. Be aware, be smart, and be here next week on Armed Alabama. And remember to check out our YouTube channel where you can see replays of this YouTube video on that channel. This is Judge Rusty Johnston signing off for Armed Alabama.